So today we are pulling back the curtains and dive into the world of windows and door schedules. And of course, as architects and designers, we oftentimes will need to do windows and door schedules for many reasons that we'll talk about a little bit later. But you got to stay around to the end because I'm going to be showing you how to add icons or images to your schedule to make them look something like this. So what I'm saying? And so, yeah, you're going to be able to add images and icons to your schedule and make them stand out above the rest. So stay tuned for that. Let's go. So windows and door schedules are perhaps the two schedules that you will always need to have on your architectural designs. And these schedules do play a crucial role in the life cycle of the project, and so it provides organization and clarity, consistency. Cost estimation is one of the big parts of having schedules in general, but more so windows and door schedules, since that's what we're focusing on today. We talk about efficient communication and also construction guidance. You know, the contractor will need to know, okay, when I'm building this door, I need to make the height that and the width that and so on and so forth. Now, why would you want to add images or icons to your schedules? A couple of reasons, of course. It does improve communication and it makes for a professional look. And most of all, it makes your schedule user-friendly. All right. Immediately as you look at the schedule, you kind of know what you're looking at rather than having to think too deeply. You just know, okay, this is the entry door, this is the bifold door, and so on and so forth. And so these type of schedules really do add that extra push or professional look to your drawings. All right, so let's dive into that over into AutoCAD here. All right, so here we are in AutoCAD Architecture, and this is the floor plan that we'll be working with. I will provide links in the description if you want to follow along, where you can download these drawings and also the PDF that was shown a little bit earlier. However, as you can see here, I have this nice little floor plan going on with some windows. As you can see there, I do have some doors and so on and so forth. I have also added spaces into my drawing, and you'll see that these spaces will become important a little bit later, especially when we want to determine where in the building these windows and doors are located. Okay. Now, remember, I have a video on schedules already. I think it's a pretty good video that will teach you how to create schedules from scratch. Okay. How to build each property or parameter and how to enter information into those parameters, all of that stuff. And those techniques can be used regardless of the object that you are creating the schedule for. So whether it be windows, doors, walls, roof, slab, stairs, anything that you're creating a schedule for, the same principles apply. And the same thing applies to this video. The things that I show you here can be applied to other objects within your project. Okay, so that being said, I will not be starting from scratch here. I'm going to just pick a schedule, one of the templates that were provided with the software. So how do we find that? We go home, we go to the tool drop down here, and we click on Style Browser. And that's going to pop out this little thing here, this palette. And at the top, you want to go all the way down to where it says Schedule Table. And in here, AutoCAD would have provided some samples for us to use. And so we can just pick, anyone from the list. However, why don't we go over here instead? And we do have window schedule and door schedule here. So I think I'd rather use these ones instead of those because these come with a bunch of stuff. So we click on door schedule there, and it asks us to select the objects or hit enter to begin. What we can do is to just highlight the whole drawing like this, and it will filter out the doors. As you can see, all the doors are selected there, and we would hit enter, and it starts to build a schedule, and it is now asking us to place this somewhere. Now before we place it in our properties, we could determine the scale here. Now I would recommend leaving the scale, because the number that it places here is based on the scale that you're using, and this number is appropriate for the scale. So if you had a 1/2 inch scale or a 1/8 of an inch scale, that number would be different. But if you're using a 1/4 inch scale like I am doing here, the number 48 is the actual number that you want to have. So we're going to leave that as is, and we're going to just include. We're going to click here, and then once you make your first click, you just hit enter, and there you have it. So this is our door schedule. And why don't we do one for the window same time? All right, so we're going to do the same thing. Swipe, select. It will highlight all the windows in your drawing, and then of course we'll hit enter once more, and we're going to drop this on the side here. Click, hit enter, and we have our windows. All right, so what we're going to do here is to edit each of these schedules to remove the columns that we don't want, and also to add the columns that we need. All right, and even though some of these columns are not yet available, we're going to create them, and I'll show you how to do that. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to click on the first schedule, which is the door schedule here, and I'm going to say edit style, and you want to go over to the columns tab right here. And then of course we have a bunch of columns that we don't need, so all you got to do is to highlight them by holding down the Control key on your keyboard and then clicking on each of these things right here. I think I'm going to keep fire rating for the door. That's fine if it's something you'll need to show, but just for this example, I'll keep it there. And then I think that's it for doors. I'm going to hit delete right here and then hit OK. And so all of those are gone, and then I can proceed to adding a column that I need. So I'm going to add, and then I can scroll through the list that is available. Now, if something is not available here, we will have to go in and add that property to the door. And so as you will see here, we do have style. So here it is. But the other one, which would be location, is missing. We're not going to be adding elevation because this would only apply if you have multiple story building. So since it's just a flat building, we're going to leave that one out. But for the location, we want to apply this one, but it's not yet available, or maybe it is. Let's see. So we're going to add style, which we just did right here, and we're going to hit OK, and you can see that the style was added. Now I don't like where it is located right now. Hold on, let me see something here. Okay, yeah, I think it's in the right spot. So I have mark first, and then style, and then I have the size, fire rating. Then I want to have location like right after fire rating. So I could go to add, and in order to add location, let me see, that's not showing up in here, is it? It's not. So in order to add location, we'll have to go into our style manager and do some little things in there, as well as we don't have a column for our icons. So we're going to be able to create two properties, one for location and one for our icons. Okay, so we have icon and location. All right, so we're going to hit OK for now, or cancel rather, and then hit OK here, and you will see that your schedule has now been updated with the mark number, the style, the size, fire rating, such and so forth. Why don't we do the same for the window for now? So let's go into window, over to the column tab here, and then we will delete these two columns, and then I'll add style here. So go down to style, okay, and then we will also need location and icon here. So we're going to hit OK. So this is what we have so far. So far so good. Yeah. Why don't we go now and try to add the location and the image. Now let's start with location, because as you can see here, I do have spaces within my drawing. And if you don't know what these are, I do have another video that talks about spaces and how to create them and what they are, what they do, all of that stuff. But if you click on one of these windows, you'll see this little thing out here called property data location. And anywhere this thing is located for any of your objects, your window or door will tell the program or the software that it's located within that space. Okay, so for example, this window has its location point inside of this room. So in your properties, it will report that the location of this window is in bedroom number 1. And that applies to any of these objects. So if I click on this door, it's going to tell me that it is in the master bedroom, because the location point is in that room. However, guess what? You can move it. I can move it from one room to the next, or I can move it to even another space. Of course, that wouldn't make sense to move your location for this door all the way up there. But just so you know what that is, and so that's what that does. So how do we add it to our property over here? Because all of the properties, I'm going to refresh this right here. Now, all of the properties that we see within our schedule is being pulled from the door or the window object within your properties here. So if you notice, you have the style, the width, the height, all of these information. It's really what we're pulling out in our schedule. So what we need to do is to add location to the list, and we want to add the icon to the list as well. Okay, let's begin with location. So the first thing we're going to do is to go to the Manage tab and then to Style Manager. And in here we have all the styles that are available in your project. So we're going to go down to Documentation, go down to Property Set Definition, and we will click on Windows Style, or rather, I tell you what, for location, we're going to create a new property set. So we're going to right click and say New, and we're going to say all underscore objects location. Okay, let's do it like that. Okay, so that's our new style. A reason why I create a new one here is because I want to be able to apply this to every single object, because at some point I might need to use this for walls or for, you know, some objects within a room, something of that sort. So I just do all objects. Now, of course, if I wanted to apply this to one particular object, I would rename it to that. For example, these are the ones that you see down here. You know, it's called wall styles because it only applies to walls. Same thing for doors, windows, and so on. You would try to name it to be similar to the object that you are trying to apply it to. But since we're going to do all objects here, I call it that. And you go over to the second tab here, and you would say objects right here. Okay. And then you would say select all, because I do want this to be applied to every single object. Okay. Then I go over to definition, and this is where I am able to create the property that I want to show up in the properties palette. Okay. So for this one, I'm going to go down to what is called add location property definition. So if you watch my previous video on schedule, we would have talked about the first two, And I don't think we touched on formula, maybe in a later video, but today we're going to be looking at location property. So we click on that, and in here I'm going to call this property location. And then what we want to do, since we're going to be using the space object to identify the location of these things, we're going to click on the space drop down there, and we're going to click on space object. And if you notice, what you're seeing here, space objects, is actually a property set definition that was created by AutoCAD. Now, I didn't create this, AutoCAD created it. So it's living in my project, and these are the properties that are within your spaces here. Okay, so what we're doing is to pick the name of the space, okay, and we're going to hit OK, just like that. And then for description, let me see if I can change the description here. Use property name for description. I'm going to uncheck that and hit OK. And I should be able to edit this to be location. Okay, so that's what I want there, location. And then over in your format, you can tell it how you want it to be shown in your schedule. Let's keep it at uppercase, and we'll leave it at that. And we hit OK. Okay, so now that we have created that property, we can apply to all of our windows and all of our doors. So if I highlight everything in my drawing and I filter down to doors, it's not there as yet, but if I click on this button, it will become available. Okay, and I'll check that box and I'll click on OK, and now location is available. Now it says varies because I have multiple doors selected. I'm going to filter down to windows, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to add the location, hit OK, and our schedules are now obsolete, so we need to refresh. So we're going to update, and that's fine. Nothing has changed because we haven't added those columns in as yet. But guess what? If you click on one of these windows, you can see that the location has been populated with the name of the space that it is adjacent to. So you can see, and that's because it has the location point within that room. Okay, so same thing for this one. This one is reading the master bedroom, but we could have put it in the master bath. If we move this point over, you can see that the location is now in the master bathroom. Likewise, so one of the things you would want to do is to go through and make sure that all of your location points are in the place that you want them to be. For example, I think this one here was kind of pointing over here by default, you know, so this one is saying in bedroom number 2, but really and truly it should be in closet number 1. So I kind of just moved it over a little bit. So you'll have to make some minor adjustment here and there, but nonetheless, pretty cool stuff. And we're going to update these. So now all that is left is for us to add this to our schedule. Yeah, so we edit style again. You know the drill by now. We go to add a column, and now location becomes available. Uppercase, that's all good. We hit OK. It is added to the end. I'm going to just pull it over 1 notch, and that's what it is. And I'm going to hit OK. So now the location is added to my my schedule. Now this is showing entry door, and not sure. Let me see something. Entry door. Okay, so one of my doors is not in the right spot. Okay. So what happened is that I did not add the property to this door, and this is not a door per se. This is considered a door window assembly. So if I do an object viewer, you'll see what this looks like. It's a kind of an assembly with a window and a door in the middle. So what we need to do is to apply that property as well to this object. and then it should show up in our schedule. So I'm gonna hit update, and then that should be good. And then let's add the same column to our window schedule. So I'm gonna go to edit style here. I'm gonna say add column. I'm gonna click on location. I'm gonna say okay. And of course, I'm gonna drag it into the appropriate location. And the last thing I wanna do to my window schedule here is to remove the door window assembly, because if you remembered a while ago, this is already showing up in my door schedule. So I don't want to see this in my window schedule. The only thing I want to see here is windows. And so I'm going to turn this off and hit OK. And so what it did there was to remove one of those items from my window schedule, but it is still existing over here. So that's fine. And so now we have all the location for each of our windows. How cool is that? Yeah. If you all like this video, do me the honors and hit the subscribe button. If you learned something new already, you know the drill. All right. Respect and manners. But yeah, that's how you get your location into your drawing. Now let's go ahead and add your icons or images to your schedule. Now this one is very time consuming, so I have gone ahead and put some stuff together. I kind of want to show you what I have here. So if you notice, I have a folder here with images of all the windows and doors in this project already. Okay, so one of the things you'll need to do is to create images of each window and door within your project. And so I would have gone through and, have done this already, but I'll go ahead and show you a real easy way to do this. Actually, it's pretty cool. So if you click on one of these objects, you just click on it like that, click on your object viewer, and in here you can rotate the window or door or whatever object you're trying to look at, and you can place it in the orientation that you would like, play around with the visual styles and the details and so on and so forth. You can just play around with these. Maybe you want to put it in wireframe, or you want to put it in shaded with edges. Maybe you want to look at the front view, something like that, or you want to see an isometric view, or perhaps you want a perspective view. How about that? So whatever you prefer, you can play around with these, and once you're done, you would hit the save button, and this would allow you to save an image, whether it be PNG, GIF or JPEG, bitmap, or this other one here that I've never used before. But you simply would just save your image. So let's call this ABC, and I'm going to save it in my folder. And then in my folder, I do now have that image available to be used within my schedule. Now, the only thing I would recommend here is that this particular image, if you import it just as you have it here, it's going to come in with a black background for some weird reason. I don't know why, but that's just how it works. So what you'll have to do is to edit this image just briefly, go to open with paint, and maybe you could paint the background to be white. So I'll do something like that. Just paint it white. So you'll have a white background, and then you'll go ahead and save it once more, get out of there, and now you have an image with a white background. Okay, so you'll have to do that process for each of your object, but of course the fact of the matter is it's really easy to just highlight the objects you want. So for example, this front door window assembly, I could just do that, come to this view, put it in my 3D view like that, make all the same changes right here. So I'll put it shaded with edges, and then I would hit save, and then I'll call this XYZ, and then I'll hit save. And so that's the process. And then once you have it in here, you edit, open with, paint, and I'm going to paint the background to be white again. Hit save, and you exit. So you have your windows and your doors saved in one location, just like you see I have mine here. Gave them the appropriate naming and all of that. And once you have that, then it is time to apply those to your objects in here and then to your schedules. Okay. So what we're going to do, similar to how we did location, we're going to go back to the style manager. We're going to go down to documentation, and we're going to go to property set definition. Now this time we're going to create a new property. Okay, we're going to create a new one. We're going to call it all style underscore icon. Okay, or image, whatever you want to call it. Let's put image. Okay. Now the reason why I call it style is because this time we're going to be applying to the styles and definitions and not necessarily the object. Okay, because what happened is when I apply an image to, for example, this window, I want that same image to be applied to every other window that is of the same style. So you have to pick the style and definition options here. If you pick object, it's going to apply that property to each individual object. Okay, so that's just a simple way to understand this. So I'm going to pick all of them. And if you don't want to do all, you could just pick the door and window that you want to apply this to. For example, you could just say clear all, door style, door window assembly, and then we'd pick window, because those are really the three things that we're applying this to. But if I want to use this in the future on other elements or objects within my drawing, then I would want to say select all, and then I'd go over to definition. And over here, we're going to add a special type of property. Okay. And we're going to go all the way down to graphic property definition. How easy is that? So you click on this button here, you give it a name. So we could call it icon or image, whatever. And at this point, you will determine whether you're going to be using a block or an image. Now, in our case, we're going to be using image. And that's because we have images. Okay. Now, if you had blocks, that would be amazing, because I think the blocks will give you higher quality prints. Yeah. And the blocks will come out without borders. So if we go back to the PDF here, and this is the downside of using images, is the fact that it does come with this border around the edge, and you can see the pixelation of the image. But when you zoom out, it doesn't look that bad. You know, I don't think it look that bad. Now, if you have the time to create blocks for each of these windows and each of these doors, that's awesome. I wish there was a one-click button that I could just click and it would just create the block for me. I'm sure there's a way to write a code or a program to do that, but I honestly don't know how to do that. So I just stick with images for now, give it a name, and that's it, really. That's it. We're not going to select an image here. We're just going to hit OK. And that's the property. It's called icon, or let's rename it object icon, whatever. We hit OK. And so we're going to select again everything. And this time, actually, what we need to do, since it's a style definition, we will go into our architectural object styles here. And we're going to apply to each of our styles in here. Because this time, we won't be able to apply this property outside here, because these properties are object properties. If you notice, door object, object location, only object properties can be applied out here. If you want to apply style properties, then you would have to go into your edit style and then add that property in here. So if I click on this, you'll see that nothing is in here, but I'll have to add it, and you'll have that one in here. We have some other ones that AutoCAD provided, but of course we wouldn't be using those. We would only want this one. All right, now this is one way to apply to your window or door style, but I think the more efficient way would be from the style manager. You go down to your through here, we go into your door style, and you pick each door. Okay, so we're going to go into door number 1. We click on property set, and we apply this guy right here, just that one. We hit OK, and then you can see that that property is now applied. Now at this point we can apply the image for that particular door. So we click on here and we browse for that image, and that would be my bifold double louver. So I know I have that somewhere here, which would be this guy. So I'll hit open. You can see the little image there. I'll hit OK, and this will now apply to every door in my drawing that has this style. Okay, so I'm gonna hit OK, and that's done. I'll go over to my other one here and I'll do the same. I'll apply the property, and then I'll pick my image, which would be the single. Okay, so I do not have a single bifold, and I believe it's because I do not have it within my drawing. So let me just double check that. Yeah, I do not have a single bifold, so I don't need to do that one. In fact, I should just delete that out of my drawing actually. So let's, all right, so let's move to the next one here, which is the 6-panel half light. Okay, I do not have this door in my drawing, so I'm not sure why it's not going away, but I'll move on to the next one, which is this one here, and I'll say property set. I'll go ahead and apply this property. Okay, and this is my frameless door. I use this one on the front, so I'm gonna go ahead and use the 3D image that we created for this one. So I'll go ahead and use the XYZ. I think that's what it was. I'm going to hit open. I think that's what that is. 6-panel half light, hit OK. Then we'll go to pocket property. Do that. OK. It's a lengthy process, but it's worth it, guys. It's worth it. All right, so that's my single pocket. By the way, we should have been changing these path to relative, because I think relative path is the best option here. Causes less issues, so you can go back through and change those to relative. It's a good idea. Almost forget, but all right, so now we're at single, or rather sliding double, which is this one here. Pick relative. Okay, okay. All right, so all of our doors have been applied in terms of our icons. Our images have been applied. I'm going to hit OK, but of course we could go through and do the same thing for Windows. But let's look at the door schedule first. I'm going to hit OK on that, and you can see that this has been scratched out. But let's go ahead and edit style again. Go over to column, and in here we're going to add the icon column this time. Let's call it icon or image, whatever. And then we're going to hit, before we hit OK, why don't we hit this? Well, let's do this first. OK. And we're going to move it over to maybe beside style or before. Let me see. Where did I have it? After style. So we'll do that. Hit OK. And you can see that we have something going on here, but they're really small. Yeah. They're super, super tiny. Okay, my entry door doesn't have one, so I need to add one to that. So let's go back in here, go back to style, go down to door, entry door, and scroll down in here, property set, image, browse, do have entry door here. Okay, okay, okay. Now, if you want to avoid this refresh, I think we could change it somewhere here to say update automatically, so we don't have to continue to refresh this thing. Any change we make to our project will just be updated automatically. So that's that. But you can see that the entry door has now been added in, and so that looks good. The only 3D image we have is this one, which we kind of did on the last fly there. But what I want to do is to make these images a little bit bigger, because right now they are pretty much the size of your text. And so what we have to do is to go in and tell it to make this a little bit bigger. So if we click on this again and go to edit style, click on your icon column and then say modify. And then down here we can override the cell format. Okay, and then in the height column, this is where you would type the height that you would like. So for this one that I did here, I did use 1/2 inch. That's the paper height, but maybe we could make it a little bigger. How about 5/8? Yeah, 5/8. Let's do 5/8. That's like a notch up, and then we hit OK. Okay, and then okay. So as you can see, those got blown up really big and they're looking wonderful. Yeah, I like that. So we could go ahead and do the same thing for our windows. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'll of course speed through that section. I don't want to have you guys hanging on for too long. So I'm going to go down to my window styles and I'm going to click on casement. So that is our window schedule looking all lovely. Yeah. So that's beautiful. So now we can actually go ahead and print these. But before I print them, you'll see that the numbers in here are, well, this one is not bad because it's counting 1 all the way down to 14. But we could actually renumber these schedule. And this is another awesome technique that you're going to be learning right now. So why don't we go ahead and tag our windows and doors? Let's go ahead to annotate. We'll do door tags. Okay, so I'll pick one door first. Let's pick a door. Let's put our tag right here. And then we'll hit OK. And then we'll do multiple and then swipe all of our doors. Hit enter. It's going to ask you if you want to re-tag the one that we did before. We're going to say no, and then we're going to hit OK. So what that did there was to tag every single door within our project, including these ones here. So I'm going to move these out a little bit. move these down like so, and then move this one up, maybe like right there. All right. So you can see that each number for each door in here, and these numbers are counting from 14 all the way down. I don't know why it started at 14, but we can actually renumber those by going to the scheduling drop down here and say renumber property set, and you have the ability to renumber any of these things. For this particular instance, we want to renumber our doors. So let's do that, renumber, and you put your starting number and your increment. You want to go up every 1 or every 2 or every 3, so on and so forth. And we're going to hit OK. And so we can start with what we want door number 1 to be. So for example, I could make this door number 1, door number 2. I'm going to keep going around, door number 3, 4, 5, 6, and you just keep going. Yeah. Okay. So we have 14 doors instead of 27. And if you go over here, you'll see that your doors have been renumbered and have been reshuffled in the order that you have numbered them. Okay. And so that's how that is done. And you can do the same thing with your windows. So if we say window tag, we pick our first window, maybe this one here. We hit OK, and then we say multiple, and then we swipe the whole building, hit enter, then no, then OK. All of our windows have been tagged. I'm going to remove this one because this have already been tagged. And then, so now we can see which number is relating to which window. So window number 1 is a picture round, and if we look, we have window number 1. Window number 2 is the other one, and that would be window number 2, so on and so forth. So now all that is left is for us to apply these to our drawing. And so what we're going to do here is go over to my schedule sheet, because I do have my floor plan sheet already set. Why don't I move this down a little bit in the middle? Yeah. I'm going to go over to my schedule, and I'm going to draw a rectangle right here. And then I'm going to zoom into my schedules like so. And of course, I want to set the appropriate scale. So I'm going to make it 1/4 inch. Now that's big. Let me move these over. So I'll need to create, I could do either, I could create 2 separate view window, or I could simply go over to my model space and move this one over a little bit closer to that one, which I think is the best way to do it. And so on my sheet, it reflects that change, and then I can reshape my window to the size of my schedule. And then last but not least, we will put this box on the depth point layer so that it becomes invisible when I print it. Okay. So there's a layer in here called depth points, and that layer does not print. That's because in your properties, layer properties over here, if you look, the depth point layer is turned off. The printer is unavailable, so it will never show up on a sheet. So if we do a print, make sure that my settings are all set, monochrome, apply, and then I'll do a preview. You can now see that everything is coming out looking wonderful, beautiful. Again, the only issue I have with this technique is the line going around each image, and I have tested a bunch of things, including trying to turn the lines white, which actually worked, but the same layer that is used to create that line is the same layer that is used for these other lines. And so when you make it white, everything becomes white. And so you have no border, which is kind of crazy. I wish you could control those layers differently, or maybe there is a way to do it. And so if you know how to do that, please share with me. I would love to learn how to do that, but I have tested a bunch of things. Again, if you're looking to get higher quality images on your schedule, you could create blocks for each of these. And again, that's even more time consuming than just using these images. I don't know if it is that serious for you to go and create blocks. I would love for somebody to write a code, if you all know how to do that stuff, a code whether through Dynamo or through the Lisp or something like that. I don't know them all like that, but if you do know how to do that, I would love to create a tool or a add-on or a button that I could just click on and it will just do it for me. But yeah, that would be awesome. But right now, this is what we have. And so when you print this out, of course, why don't we just print it out and see what we get? So I'm going to hit OK here. And it's going to ask me for a location. I'm going to just drop it in the same folder here. And then it's going to open up inside of Adobe. Okay. So yeah, this is what we have, guys. I think it looks wonderful. So thank you again for watching this video. I do hope that you learned something new. And if you did, please feel free to hit the subscribe button. And also, if you haven't as yet, check out my course on AutoCAD Architecture.